So, I just checked out the official trailer for the new Space Jam movie back in April, and well, I'm kind of meh about the whole thing, especially for a few reasons. One that should not only be concerning to me, but others as well. Let's get this video started.
Hey! I'm not gonna get...
Some people settle for the typical thing, living all their lives waiting in the wings. It ain't a question of if, just a matter of time before I move to the front of the line. Once you're watching every move that I make, you gotta believe that I got what it takes to stand out.
Greetings and salutations, my fellow geeks and nerds. I am your host, Retromeister, and I welcome you all to my channel with my first video here on this platform, and others I'll be hosting this video on, along with future content as well. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, I have a few issues with this new Space Jam 2 movie, yet I'm covering just one that I believe is more important than most people tend to think, and that is Lola Bunny. Back in March of this year, both the director Malcolm D. Lee and Warner Brothers confirmed about Lola's redesign for the movie, and rant about stupid things like, why is she in a crop top, or that it's 2021 and that she needs to reflect strong actual women out there. God, hearing and reading this insane sexist crap is so annoying as hell. Anyway, in this first video, I'll be breaking down the reasons why the recent redesign for Lola Bunny in the new Space Jam movie is both sexist, ignorant, and completely takes away who she is, just so she can be marketed for insecure, sexist, uncultured out there. Also explain why her 90s version is more important than most realize, and not this garbage the studio is claiming is what they think is best for Lola, when it clearly isn't. This video is the first of a 4-part series of what I call What the F is with WB, which will address the various controversies like Pepe Le Pew being cancelled, along with tagging Speedy Gonzalez and his new voice actor for the new Space Jam movie, while others will break down my criticisms about the movie's trailer and what to expect from the film itself. Also the issues of removing Johnny Cage from the new Mortal Kombat 2021 movie, including a review of the film itself and comparing it to the 1996 movie. Also the recent attacks and stereotyping fans of the Snyder Cut by the studio and director himself during a charity livestream back in March of this year. Besides those, I'll be covering other hot button topics both in pop culture and politics in between these segments. I also have other cool plans for this newbie channel, so stay tuned to those. I'll definitely say with this video has taken longer than previously expected, but was only to make sure I had all the information I needed to present my argument of the issues at hand, since I wanted to make sure my presentation matches with that of my commentary as well. With that said, let's get on to the subject matter of this video, which is why Lola Bunny matters. Now for those who are new to her, or just don't frankly care, here's the 401 on Lola. She first appeared in the original 1996 Space Jam movie along with Bugs Bunny, NBA legend Michael Jordan, and other Looney Tunes characters, which was her launch point to stardom, or so we thought. Originally portrayed to be Bugs Bunny's love interest slash Jessica Rabbit type character, but surprisingly, Lola turned out to be much more of an important figure than we previously thought. Even though her design is that of a sex symbol for fan art, which I will explain later in this video, but that's beside the point. After the movie, she made 7 more appearances on screen as herself, the first being the Space Jam video game as a playable character alongside other Looney Tunes stars including Michael Jordan himself. Next, Lola appeared in the 2000 promo for the Looney Tunes promoting the new millennium called Millennium, a play on words with the actual name, as Lola and the other Looney Tunes characters are celebrating the new year. Next, she appeared in the Duck Dodgers video game for the Nintendo 64 when it comes to hints and save points, unfortunately not a playable character. The next was the anime movie Tweety's High-Flying Adventure based on the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries cartoon, if you guys remember that, as a news anchor covering the events of Tweety's adventure throughout the film. Next, Lola was in the Looney Tunes racing game for the Sony PlayStation that was one of many Mario Kart type games, with Lola being a playable character. Next, Lola appeared in the Looney Tunes racing game called Space Race as the on-ground racing commentator for Foghorn Leghorn, almost similar to what she did in Tweety's High-Flying Adventure. And finally, Lola appeared in a web episode of a Looney Tunes cartoon about Bugs dating her. Since then, she has been seen mostly with her original design in the Looney Tunes comics as of 2020, and in merchandising as well. But as far as on screen, she has been redesigned for the small screen with the Looney Tunes show in 2011, which I will talk about more later in this video. Lola was originally voiced by Cat Suzy, who some in the animation community called her the female Mel Blanc of her time, alongside other well-known voice actresses. She's best known for her roles as Dexter's mom from Dexter's Laboratory, Fifi from Tiny Toon Adventures, Sally Acorn and the AI Nicole from Sonic SatAM, Phil Lil from Rugrats, Morgana from Disney's Darkwing Duck, Amanda Everett from Tomb Raider Legend and Underworld, best known for this infamous gaming moment right here.
Idiots! You ruined everything!
All these years I blamed myself, and it was you! You killed her!
Killed her? She's not dead! She went where I was supposed to go, where you could have gone!
Make sense right this second, or I swear I'll execute you where you stand!
I told you to pull out the sword. I told you!
Where is my mother?
Avalon! It's not a myth. Don't you get it? You'll never understand. I'm wasting my breath.
From this moment, your every breath is a gift from me.
And the voice of the AI in the 2012 Syndicate video game, similar to what she did as Nicole for Sonic SAM. Yet that's only a small list of voiceover roles she's done over the last 2 decades, besides being the voice of Lola. Since Space Jam, the higher-ups of Warner Bros. Have done what they could to get away with reducing Lola's on-screen time to comic books and merch until 2011 during what some call the dark ages of Cartoon Network. The network later decided they wanted to do a new Looney Tunes series for a new era of fans. With this new series, they decided to take the opportunity of doing the first redesign to Lola of her woman-like appearance to eventually change her into something more that's, to them, kid-friendly, yet more annoying than possible in my opinion. Yet this version of Lola was voiced by Ghostbusters 2016 actress Kristen Wiig, who was brought on to the role of the character after her time on SNL. Yet despite what CBR says, I believe they turned this beloved character into what I call a Sakura like Sakura Haru from OG Naruto, which I'll explain more in better detail later in this video. Recently, Susie did return to the role as Lola for the new Looney Tunes cartoon shorts, which some would say don't do her original character justice, along with a horrible CalArts design that looks like something out of Teen Titans Go or Thundercats Wars, seen here. The new cartoon also has other issues like censoring Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam's weapons to being more politically and socially sensitive in this day and age of stupidity and ignorance, which some would call more of a major issue compared to others in the show. Now in the year 2021, director Malcolm D. Lee, best known for movies like Undercover Brother, Night School, and Girls Trip, otherwise known as another Magic Mike flick, is helming the new Space Jam movie called Space Jam: A New Legacy, featuring NBA star LeBron James and a slew of other stars and athletes alongside the Looney Tunes for the movie. Now before I continue on with this video, let me just say the title of this movie honestly sends a shiver down my spine, because I believe this film is trying to replace the original due to the behind-the-scenes PC going on with the studio and a certain someone, which I will explain more later in this video and in the next as well. Back in March of this year, Lee did an interview for Entertainment Weekly covering his plans for Space Jam 2, along with explaining his reasons for redesigning Lola for the film, calling her, quote, the new Lola, which he says, quote, needs to be more woke and represent strong actual female characters, end quote. Yet to me, her new design looks more that of the Looney Tunes show's Lola, but more of a preteen rather than her adult look from her original 90s design. Like, I know the studio is trying to model her after actual women in the WNBA, yet I believe this misses the mark completely when it comes to the message Lee is trying to send. It was recently announced back in April during the release of the film's official movie trailer that the new Lola would be voiced by ex-Disney star, singer, and feminazi Zendaya, best being known as the new Mary Jane Watson from the Tom Holland Spider-Man flicks. In another EW article, Lee also revealed that Lola will be reintroduced alongside the Amazons of Wonder Woman, which those at the Mary Sue are gushing over like the uncultured, biased, insecure feminazis they are. The article also goes on to say, quote, we reworked things, not only her look, like making sure she had an appropriate length on her shorts and was feminine without being objectified, but gave her a real voice. For us, it was let's ground her athletic prowess, her leadership skills, and make her as a full character as the others. We want her to meet with the Amazons trying to find greener pastures for herself. As she says in the movie, there's more to her than just being a toon. What, she wasn't one already?
Lame, 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 lame!
Lee's statements to me sound like this new Lola Bunny is trying to be forced to become a feminist due to the political and sexist state of the studio, and not just on the director himself being a hypocrite. Yet this new take on Lola goes against completely what she was originally portrayed as in the original 1996 film, taking away the best features that makes Lola, well, Lola, Besides her design, the biggest betrayal of all is changing her identity in favor of pleasing the SJW feminazis out there who just want to make fictional cartoon females, animal or not, look less female and look more like a man.
It is man!
All they're doing is just justifying using Lola as a marketing gimmick to continue their sexist movement against sex, culture, and society. With that said, let's move forward to the nit and grit of this video of why Lola Bunny matters. First, I'll break down and explain why 90s Lola matters more over this so-called new Lola, based solely on her identity and character. Then cover how this recent redesign represents a greater problem than most would realize. Next, give examples of other female and male characters being victims of this SJW. And finally, what can we do in order to combat the insanity we're witnessing in gender, culture, and society?
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
Without further delay, let's begin the first part of this video. 90s Lola Bunny, despite her original design being called by the studio a mistake.
If I made a... what's the word? Mistake? No, that's inconceivable.
Her identity, I believe, is the real definition of what is a strong female type character, even despite the stereotypical sex symbol / heartthrob known only as the Smurfette principle, which is seen in most 80s and 90s media, either in TV or video games. If you guys want more information on that, I highly recommend you check out Saberspark's video on the topic. He does a much better job of breaking it down than I could, considering I'm just breaking down the reasons why Lola is more important than most would criticize, compared to this new Lola that's being marketed. Now, let's break down 90s Lola based on her character and identity. 1. She's got swag for a tomboy type character, along with being a rebel at times that most people find attractive and, dare I say, sexy. 2. She knows how to hold her own and is a team player despite being in a male-dominated sport or not. 3. She's caring and understanding in regards to how Bugs saves her life from being smashed by one of the Monstars, and soon showing her affection afterwards.
Lola, heads up! Oh my, Bugs! Bugs!
Is this your man?
Are you okay?
Me? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay?
Oh, Bugs. Thank you.
Aw, it was nothing.
That was the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me.
Who says chivalry is dead? 4. She embraces her womanhood regardless of her appearance and kicks ass doing so. And finally, she's the type of woman with her identity regardless of her furry design that most people would strive to find their soulmate with. Need I say more? And let me just say this to all you feminazi out there who are even watching this video, for saying to men that it's impossible and we're being shallow for looking for someone that they refer to as out of our league, but ignoring everyone else because we're selfish. Saying that crap to men is really the most sexist, ignorant thing to say, which brings me to one other reason why I'm doing this video. So I'm just going to explain this to you all just once, to you clueless, ignorant, uncultured idiots out there. For someone to be interested in someone else, it's called attraction and chemistry, also known as biology. Look it up. If you don't like it, suck it up, Buttercup. That's life. The world does not revolve around you. Deal with it. Anyway, moving forward. Next, we come to the hypocrisy and dangers behind Lola's redesign. Now, one thing is for sure, I can definitely say that director Malcolm D. Lee is a sexist regarding his reasons and statements of what he calls the new Lola that I mentioned earlier, and explains in the Entertainment Weekly article saying, quote, Lola Bunny was very sexualized like Betty Boop mixed with Jessica Rabbit. Lola was not politically correct. This is a kid's movie. Why is she in a crop top? It just feels unnecessary, but at the same time, there's a long history of that in cartoons. This is 2021. It is important to reflect the authenticity of strong, capable female characters. So what, she wasn't strong and capable?
What the shell is going on around here?
Okay, first off, dude, Space Jam was not a kids movie. It was a general audience movie, which means both kids and adults watched it. Big difference. Secondly, the crop top was her style in the 90s, which is still in style today. Seriously, this guy is completely sexist, ignorant, and uncultured. Plus, the fact to be offended by Lola wearing a crop top and not being woke is just plain stupid. And third, the whole idea of Lola's character was not to be PC and have her embrace the definition of what is a strong feminine type character, even if she was a furry, so get the hell over it. It really irritates me to no end when people try to justify stereotyping movies like Space Jam as a kids movie because it involves cartoon characters is just flat out ignorant and uncultured. Yet according to YouTuber Tim Pool, who tweeted back in March about the Lola redesign saying, quote, are people actually mad they made the cartoon rabbit lady with no boobs? It's a kids movie. Who the f*** is angry about this? Are 90s kids supposed to be turned on by anthropomorphic cartoon animals? To which I kindly replied saying, quote, "At Timcast is failing to understand what the situation is really all about, that women can't be or look like women in general, real life or in animation. It's a sexist attack to women to say looking beautiful / sexy is offensive, but looking like a pencil or beached whale is acceptable." Which is true. I mean, just because it's a movie involving cartoon characters does not automatically mean it's a kid's movie. It's clear that Poole is not as knowledgeable when it comes to culture or entertainment history. I mean, what about movies like Fritz the Cat, Cool World, Beavis and Butthead Do America, South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, The Road to El Dorado, and Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights? They're definitely not for kids, yet you think that's going to stop kids from watching them? Of course not. They're no different than video games like GTA, Mortal Kombat, and others. They will always find a way to get to play or watch them. To just say a movie like Space Jam is just a kid's movie because it has cartoons in it is in itself a major cop-out to say cartoons are just for kids, like cereal.
Hey.
Hello.
I'd like to ask a few questions about this breakfast cereal.
Yeah. Box of tricks.
That's right. I've been led to understand that tricks are exclusively for children. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, they say tricks are for kids in the commercials.
And is that enforced by law?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Need I remind you idiots that cartoons like Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes historically weren't originally for kids, but for a general audience, which means everyone! Yet did that stop the studios from making them because of that? Of course not. They saw kids as something to really capitalize on years later, like with He-Man, She-Ra, G.I. Joe, Mighty Max, and others. Space Jam is no different than Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Sonic the Hedgehog 2020. Need I say more?
I'm here. What do you got for me? Things, stuff, more things and stuff? Mr. Duckman! Save it! You both just say something disgustingly cute, cuddly, and politically correct, then I'll get PO'd and commit an unthinkably brutal act. Let's cut to the chase.
I also bring up the fact that Lola's redesign does not do anything in regards to representing strong females nor female empowerment, when it does the exact opposite of what it originally intended to be. I mean, if you look at her original design between her 90s look and her so-called new design, you can clearly see they de-womanized Lola, which is no different than saying desexualized, which that in itself misses the mark of what Lee wanted to do for the character. Yet I really don't think he cares. I mean, seriously, if the guy wanted to show true female empowerment, he would have kept the original design and personality, which would have sent a loud enough message to the SJW there that Lola was back and going to on the court once more. Here's an article from the Toronto Star which explains the failure in the message of Lola's redesign, saying, quote, "It's certainly a good thing for girls to see empowered women on screen, and that means more characters to emphasize athleticism, intelligence, leadership character traits that have always had a good showing in female characters on screen. But changing Lola does not only introduce a new athletic rabbit to the next generation of kids, but it sends an implicit message to those who already knew, and Lola, in that order, to be a role model, she had to stop being sexy the way she was. It is the cartoon equivalent of policing what women wear or shaming them to be upfront about their sexual desire, even though it's probably not intended that way." End quote. The author of this article clearly understands what is considered between actual female empowerment in media to what is straight up sexist and uncultured. Yet I give her props to being one of the only few to call this sexist for what it is compared to those idiots like the Mary Sue and Comic Book Resources, aka CNN for Comics, that praises the new designs like it's the bestest ever, since Ray from Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars or having two elementary girls in a same-sex relationship in an episode of The Owl House. Ironically, the wife to one of the writers of the show just so happens to be Noelle Stevenson of the Netflix She-Ra reboot. Yet, I believe it was done not for them to have their own private prom for themselves, but continuing to intentionally confuse kids in the name of politics, worse than Teletubbies, but who knows.
What did you say, punk?
Lee, of course, is trying to justify his actions in the EW article that he wanted to represent the authenticity of strong, feminine-type women, when the redesign clearly shows he's just being a sexist, uncultured hypocrite who's only using Lola to earn brownie points with the SJW feminazis out there like those in the WNBA itself, which is just as woke as the NBA itself, which LeBron James is the mouthpiece of, more like his. Yet these women are determined to continue the war on sex and men by saying those who are beautiful, sexy, or even manly are considered sexist and therefore should be shamed for it in any way possible. Yet they're the ones who are insecure and sexist themselves, who just want to make those people who do give a shit about how they look to be as miserable and unhappy as they are.
40% of our workforce has dropped dead from some sort of mysterious illness. The hardier folks have just turned into hideous mutants. We don't know what's causing it. But we have some hunches.
Funny.
Which I say to that crap, f you for trying to make people as insecure and sexist and ignorant as you are. You do not have the authority of any kind to fucking dictate how people should look, feel, or even act. So you should take this fascist right back up and send it back to hell, because everyone is done with your sexist.
Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy? Huh? 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 I have exorcised the demons. This house is clear.
As I said earlier in this video, I believe the actions of both the director and the studio clearly shows that they're using Lola as a means to an end when it comes to continuing the war on gender, culture, society, even history. Need I say more?
Together, we could change the world, but you're still chasing after honor for chump change. When are you gonna wake up?
So you sold out to La Paradox for the money?
No, you're not listening. He's just a means to an end.
Wow. And I thought you were smart. Do you really think he's going to just let you go? He owns you now. You're his puppet. And when you've served your purpose, he's going to cut your strings.
I'm nobody's puppet.
With Lola's new design, it's similar to her design in the Looney Tunes show, which that version is more cringeworthy than most realize. Brings me to the next part of this video, which is other characters that are victims of identity politics, continuing on with female characters. Going back to what I said earlier in my video about the Looney Tunes show portrayal of Lola Bunny, I believe there was some behind-the-scenes drama and politics involved in her first redesign for the show due to a few things, of which I will break down right here. The first is obviously that Lola's original look to the producers, was too sexualized, and decided to rebrand her with a teenager look with life issues, even though she was already an adult technically. Yet her new design wasn't the biggest problem I had with her in the show, which brings me back to what I said at the beginning of this video, mentioning that this Lola's personality was more like Sakura from Naruto based on the behavior she gives throughout the show's airtime. Starting with the fact she's somewhat more abusive, compulsive, and annoying, just like Sakura in the OG seasons of Naruto. For those of you who don't know who Sakura is or even watch the anime, here's a little 411 on her. Sakura Haruno in the anime Naruto was portrayed as a girl mostly doing everything she could to get laid with the hottest guy in the village named Sasuke Uchiha. Typical teen drama, yet definitely more entertaining in anime form. Sasuke is the last surviving member of his clan due to his insane brother Itachi wiping them out years before for unknown reasons until it's explained in Shippuden. Throughout most of the series, Sakura was seen as mostly useless due to her not doing enough, unlike Naruto, Sasuke, and the other young ninjas in their village, but mainly focusing on trying to have a relationship with Sasuke. I'll say this right now, Naruto was better off with the shy girl Hinata than that was most of the time like an abusive sibling rather than girlfriend material.
This is awesome! I'm on a date with Sakura!
Not a date! I'm only here because you said it's lonely to go to the festival by yourself!
Oh, Sakura.
What do you think you're doing?
Well, you did it!
Thankfully, Sakura does improve in Shippuden and by series end ends up with Sasuke giving birth to their daughter, Sarada. Yet, I believe Sakura may have forced Sasuke to have sex due to Sakura still having the traits of being abusive and annoying, and the possibility of blackmail because of the pressures of wanting to be a mother. But hey, you know what they say when it comes to love being blind. As for Lola in the Looney Tunes show, she was portrayed as a daughter of a wealthy family as seen in episode 2, Members Only, where Daffy overhears someone's member number being called out into the open, and FYI, it's best to be discreet about these things. They're no different than protecting your credit card information in public or online.
Do you ever worry about putting your credit card information on the internet?
That is the most ridiculous question I have ever heard. It is no riskier to use your credit card online than to use it in any store.
In the episode, Bugs is playing tennis, or actually trying to play it, when tennis balls keep hitting him in the back of the head out of nowhere. Eventually he confronts who it is, and it turns out to be Lola, which at first he takes a liking to. Up until she shows later in the episode to not just be abusive and a klutz, but manipulative and compulsive as well. Yet if audiences who watch the show find her traits minus being a klutz to be cute and attractive, then there's something clearly wrong with your idea of what is or isn't acceptable when it comes to being attractive to anyone.
Stop it. Get some help.
Hell, she is so abusive, she goes to the point of manipulating Bugs to marrying her to make her family happy. Talk about a crazy chick. More like crazy insane like Amber Heard. Yet I understand why some people like and found Lola in this show to be funny, and I'll admit there were some cute moments between her and Bugs, as seen here in episode 10, Eligible Bachelors, and season 2's Dear John. But most of the time, she is annoying as hell as like Sakura. Seriously, to me, Bugs in the show deserves to remain a bachelor rather than deal with a Lola as either a girlfriend or wife.
Not every girl is as stable as me.
To the females who are watching this video, let me just say this. The Looney Tunes show version of Lola is the prime example and definition of what not to be when it comes to trying to gain someone to like you. Look up towards 90s Lola more rather than this annoying manipulative. You'll save yourself so much trouble in the long run. And to you clueless, uneducated idiots out there, here's the definition of what is being manipulative. But seriously, I can look past the fact of this show looking like a late 80s or 90s sitcom like Seinfeld or Friends, yet the show looks more like what happens with the Toons when they're off screen from their usual tomfoolery and slapstick comedy, which they're best known for, which to me, it's okay. But I will never forgive the showrunners for what they did intentionally to Lola and thought that was cute when it clearly wasn't. Hell, I find someone picking up an oven pan and later realizing he wasn't wearing oven mitts more funny than this.
Hello, Mr. Doodles Dawson. It's very decent meeting you, I must say. It's like just the best. I can't believe it. It's like I'm ready to flip out.
Hey, calm down, kid. Say, shouldn't you be wearing some kind of oven mitt?
I am.
Yet, I believe this is all due to the possibility that Kristen Wiig has something to do with this portrayal of Lola, which brings me to my next point of what went wrong with her in the show. Though, this is just a theory, but hear me out. Like I said before, I believe that Wiig was responsible for how Lola's character turned out in the show, probably due to her being a manipulative self and throwing an adult-like temper tantrum, demanding her character be more like Wiig, and not the Lola we love and respect. And maybe is even responsible for the studio doing the first redesign to Lola in order to prevent Wiig from leaving the show before it was ready to air 10 years ago. Still, it's just a theory.
A film theory. And cut!
But it does bring me to my final point with this show, and that is why does another female character look more like an adult than Lola? Which brings us to the character Tina Russo, who would later be Daffy's soon-to-be girlfriend in the show. She first appeared in the episode Double Date, where Daffy is trying to make business cards for his latest scam, a parody of a Kinko's where Tina works at, like Shia LaBeouf's character in the 2008 thriller Eagle Eye. Soon afterwards, Daffy uses the cards to get the free meal at a local restaurant, and ends up finding out it only works if it's a couple. Daffy tries to hilariously convince Bugs to go on a date with him, of course like Bachelor Bros, to get the free meal. Bugs convinces Daffy to try asking out Tina on a date. He eventually asks for Lola's help to try to win over Tina, but almost ends up backfiring due to Lola falling for Daffy thanks to a love note she wrote for him to get Tina's attention. Talk about a confused woman. Eventually, Daffy is able to convince Tina to go on a date with him, while Bugs has to suffer dealing with Lola's obsessive behavior trying to ruin Daffy's date. Okay, if this is not another example of why Lola in the show is not likable by any means, then clearly you're not familiar with her original version in Space Jam, let alone even watch the film. As for Tina herself, she soon ends up falling for Daffy later in the show, confirming her to be his girlfriend that likes him despite his usual traits of being a liar, egomaniacal, sassy, unapologetic, yet Tina still accepts him for who he is. Now, if that's not the true definition of true love, then there's clearly no hope for humanity when the SJWs are running the show. Hell, I ship Tina and Daffy more than Bugs and Lola in the show, since Tina is more like how women should be rather than shouldn't in regards to Lola.
Fine. But you are making a huge mistake. Tina's crazy. She's a crazy person. She's a crazy, fake name person who's probably a stalker. I'm just gonna leave this ladder here for later.
Also with Tina's design, she looks more like how Lola could have been, considering it's shown in a few episodes that Tina has curves and boobs, as seen here in the Season 2 episode Year of the Duck, where Tina's running in the local beauty pageant against human females and, shockingly, Porky Pig. Tina's personality is mostly described as tough, street smart, rebellious, feisty, and tomboy girlfriend. Sounds like someone else we already know of?
Coincidence?
I think not!
As you all can clearly see in these screenshots, Tina looks more like an adult character should look compared to what they designed Lola, which to be honest looks like a teenager. To have the studio try to justify the first redesign of Lola because her original version was too sexualized is a excuse considering they gave Tina about the same look they could have given Lola, and I believe intentionally. Possibly because the studio didn't want any more lewd and crude fan art of her around the internet, but if they think so stupidly that was going to stop the perverts out there from not being able to do it, it won't. So in other words, the producer and studio's reasons for Lola's redesign in the show was totally pointless and sexist at the same time. Despite what CBR says about Lola in the show being the bestest ever, Tina, including Petrilla, who's Porky's girlfriend, yes, Porky had a girlfriend, deal with it, were much more likable than Lola, and that is a fact. Liar! In closing, we were all clueless and ignorant to think this would stay within the show and not be their so-called standard for how Lola should look in other Looney Tunes projects. Yet we only have ourselves to blame for not taking the matter more seriously in order to prevent what previously just happened. Hell, Speedy Gonzales and Pepe Le Pew were treated better in this show, giving them more personality and likability than now. I mean, I can look past the fact that the Looney Tunes show was like an animated version of Friends, yet turning Gossamer the monster to be like a child, treating Taz like a dog. Ever heard of Tasmania?
Down in Tasmania, come to Tasmania.
When Topsy meets Tubby, they start to spin like a Tasmanian devil and his closest kin.
Down in Tasmania, come to Tasmania.
Mom's alive, why her dad's no bump on a log. Molly's all fired up while Jake plays with the dog.
Down in Tasmania, come to Tasmania.
And Silly saw inspiring moments along with CGI Wile E. Coyote shorts. But I will not ignore the fact that the producers treated Lola like into a pale imitation of her once fun, sexy, badass self into an annoying, manipulative character, but gave all that love and care to Tina and Petrilla, which proves there was a behind-the-scenes bias going on. In short, the Looney Tunes show, in general, is something to have a love-hate relationship with. Need I say more?
Well, that's that.
From all the responses I've seen on Twitter about the whole issue regarding Lola's recent redesign, there's a lot of ridiculous reasons, yet only a few legit ones, with one of them I already pointed out earlier in the video, that the studio intentionally de-aged her from looking like an adult to what looks like a preteen, which would explain why her breasts are missing or barely there. Definitely to market her to young women and little girls as the so-called better role model than her 90s version, which they say are too offensive because she had boobs, which is something to be shamed for even for a fictional female character, similar to what they did to Laura Croft in the 2012 Tomb Raider reboot game.
I'm only trying to turn you into a lady. And a lady should be modest.
Yes, a lady should be modest.
Even despite being her new outfit, you can clearly see they made Lola's design look more like Bugs without curves or shape.
It looks like something that come from the Colonel, all right, but the legs are picked clean and I don't see any breasts.
Which ruins who she is completely, yet her new voice actress only recently confirms my worst fears of the film itself despite the huge amount of fan service we're going to be expecting. The second redesign of Lola Bunny, with the recent removal of Pepe from the new Space Jam movie, only proves this film is more about focusing on identity politics than mere entertainment and fun. But Lola is not the only casualty of identity politics in media.
Ho, ho, ho! Fiction can be fun, but I find the reference section much more enlightening.
Last year, Activision decided to change the design of Crash Bandicoot's girlfriend Tana for Crash Bandicoot 4 into something that makes her look like an SJW rather than an empowering, strong female character that looks beautiful yet can still kick. Sure, her original design was crossed between Jessica Rabbit and Pamela Anderson, yet that was the whole idea, which was for her being the Princess Peach of the game until the second installment, which they replaced her from then on with Crash's little nerdy sister Coco. If the designers of the game only kept her long blonde hair, reduced her earrings to only 2, with a normal everyday sports jacket instead of a punk jacket, she would have still kicked doing so. Yet some recently did their own redesign of Tana's new design, which you can clearly see here makes her far more attractive than this current one. Thankfully for the Insane Trilogy, the first game that Tana starred in remained as close as it was to the original. Yet all they did with her new design is the usual SJW rhetoric of, I don't need a man or anyone in my life, I can do just fine without one, lone wolf. Including make her less attractive with the whole punk look, to intentionally say she doesn't give a shit about her appearance anymore, because she's a rebel and all that.
Wait, you're not coming? Sorry, I fly solo. But I'll lend a hand where I can. In fact, I already have.
Not to mention in the game itself, she's practically just as useless as Sakura from OG Naruto, on the fact she's just a background character who doesn't do much of anything, but was only brought on due to her alternative universe where her Crash and Coco were erased from existence by the female entropy. Spoiler alert, they don't come back.
And you can't come back. Ever.
Even after alternate Tana saves the current Crash and Coco, she basically goes back to being a lone wolf character and nothing more. Oh sure, you get to play her in the game, but as far as the game's story, she's practically useless, which is a real shame. Yet, the current universe Crash and Coco have lost contact with their Tana due to the developers being sexist and ignorant. And in the end, they befriend alternate Tana over the original, which only tells me she's there to replace current Tana. Talk about messing with the space-time continuum.
That is completely out of the question. You must not leave this house. You must not see anybody or talk to anybody. Anything you do could have serious repercussions on future events. Do you understand?
Funny, when it comes to the punk rebel look, I find Sabine Ware from Star Wars Rebels far more attractive than alternative Tana. With the punk look, plus she's a strong feminine type woman as well. What they did to Tana, to me, goes against the representation of strong female type characters, and by making her involved in identity politics is a total cop-out with other female characters like Lara Croft with the Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat 11, which I'll explain more in just a moment. Hell, they've already forcibly, as one YouTuber says it best, rainbow-washed other fictional female characters like Lara Croft to be lesbian through a comic book series to say it's canon. Even worse, they're doing the same to Velma from Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, who by one of the producers during the show's 10th anniversary last year did a major cop-out on Instagram saying to a fan that Velma was always lesbian, and the studio execs didn't move forward on it because they believed it was unnecessary, which I thank God for that. And that's not me being biased there, I'm just saying that it was unnecessary. Currently in this current day and age, they're only using these characters as marketing gimmicks for the LGBTQ community and to attack those who are straight by shaming them through the media. I'll do a better breakdown and explain why Velma isn't or never was gay in a future video, but let's get back to the topic at hand.
What? Why? I don't believe this. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Velma, stop breaking the cemetery.
The next female character to be a victim on this hit list is Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat 11. Now this is a three-part topic similar to the issues with Lola and the Looney Tunes show, which I'll be breaking down the facts why Sonya was not the only female character in the game to be intentionally retconned by the developers, focusing on identity politics rather than mere entertainment and fun, including how our recent VO, well-known MMA fighter and actress Ronda Rousey, was harassed during the production of the game. For those who don't know and understand the term retcon, here's the definition for those of you who are clueless or uncultured idiots. So first off, Rousey was actually forced from her role by having her character get intentionally killed off near the end of the first act of the game due to her being critical about transgenders in sports, which she got much flack from both the developers and LSM for. So in other words, they both intentionally character assassinated herself and her fictional character in one fell swoop because she spoke openly about the subject matter. Talk about these people being vindictive and ruining someone's life because their opinion differs from theirs. It's practically like a major sin to them, which is punishable by cancellation. Straight up communist, if you ask me. Sadly, Ed Boon was one of those individuals responsible for these despicable actions against Rousey, which shouldn't come to a shock to anyone considering he folded after Mortal Kombat X. Once a prominent person in fighting against censorship is now a shell of his former self, focusing on political correctness instead of mere entertainment, appeasing the SJW gods, as seen with Injustice 2.
It's interesting, like in superheroes, and a lot of Hollywood is coming out that the representation is very over-sexualized. What do you think about the portrayal in media?
Of superheroes? Superhero women? I mean, the guys have like 16 packs. I mean, it's very much like an over-idealized idea of what, a human being should be. And so, I think that the male superheroes are overly masculinized and, the women are overly feminized. And, I think that's just part of like the whole superhero universe, really.
What? Along with Sonya, the next is the redesign of other female characters, which brings me to part 2 of this topic of the redesigning of Princess Kitana, Jade, Melina, Shiva, and Sidel to play into the SJW feminazis' hands of continuing the war on culture and gender, otherwise known as Gamergate. In a 2008 article by Polygon, Ed Boon explained briefly how his new lead character designer, Brendan George, is, quote, a breath of fresh air, end quote, to the franchise, saying, quote, our character lead, Brendan George, has been a breath of fresh air, just introducing new ideas. Our design is just getting more mature and respectful. You're not going to wear a bikini to a fight. You're not going to show much skin. I think it's just what the game is about. You're going in to fight for your life, and you're not going to be wearing such scantily clad items. I'm sure this will disappoint some fans. We don't have bathing suit fighters, and I think that's fine. If people are disappointed, I don't regret making that change by any means." End quote. Which, in other words, Boom just did the boom on his own franchise by going back on everything he once stood for in the early 90s into a shell of its former self. Talk about throwing suspension of disbelief out the window in favor of these feminazis taking control of the series, just like Star Wars and Marvel. Well, at least we still have bathing suit fighters in Street Fighter V, if not barely have them in this insane, sexist day and age. All the females in MK11 besides Sonya and Katana are all paled in comparison to their looks in the 2011 Mortal Kombat game, which felt like more of the older games. Yet, I fear for the future of the series, which I'll talk to more alongside my review of the new Mortal Kombat movie, which I will leave you all with this quote from a wise man.
It stinks.
Getting back on topic, the writers intentionally changed characters like Sindel to be retconned into her being a villain involving the game's DLC storyline, which she never was, but was more of an anti-hero, not a villain. In Mortal Kombat 9, aka Mortal Kombat 2011, Quan Chi brought Sindel back from the dead in order to attack Earthrealm without her invisible protection to prevent Shao Kahn from invading it. Of course, Sindel was brainwashed by Quan Chi's spell, which had her attack and kill most of the combatants, including Katana, Jade, Stryker, and Nightwolf near the finale of the game. But again, Sindel was controlled by Quan Chi, but was never as evil as was told in MK11 Aftermath. Yet, I'm not the only one who feels betrayed in this matter. According to The Gamer, they also say, quote, "The shift from good to evil is further problematic because the dialogue in the game contradicts itself. According to the various interactions, Katana claims that Shao Kahn killed King Jarrett, Khan admitted to the murder, as did Devora, who claims she did it for Khan, and now Sindel claims to have done it because Jarrett was weak. Ultimately, Mortal Kombat 11 can get away with virtually anything because it is a story about time travel in worlds with infinite variations of the realities we know. However, the Sindel change feels brash, unexpected, and more importantly, undeserved. The change fundamentally breaks with decades of canon, and had it been a major vocal point in the main story, would have been acceptable." End quote. I swear, Mortal Kombat 11 story sounds like something out of like a stupid fanfiction rather than a genuine Mortal Kombat story, which the same article says, quote, "Instead, Sindel's story ending feels like someone in NetherRealm Studios lost a bet and was forced to allow a sloppy, hastily written fanfiction of an evil character to take center stage in official canon. Sindel deserved better, so let's hope we don't see any other classic characters mistreated in this way." End quote. Which, in response to this quote, I would have to say I have very low expectations considering where Ed Boon himself wants to take the series, and it's definitely nothing good by any means considering what happened in MK11.
Sergeant Cage, step forward. Your leadership and warfighting ability have earned you promotion to commander. But there are no family favors here. By Special Forces tradition, you still have to pass one last test.
I need to kick the CO's ass, ma'am. Your ass, ma'am.
All right then, Sergeant. Let's see if you can take me.
In the game, the past version of Sonya would take the place of present-day Sonya briefly in the game's story without much dialogue, including the infamous DLC Aftermath. This was done, I believe, intentionally to focus on her lesbian or not daughter, Cassie Cage, who was first introduced in the previous installment as the daughter of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade at the end of the game's prologue, where Johnny and Sonya ended up being together as a couple officially off-screen, and gave birth to Cassie, or by her full name, Cassandra Cage.
Oh no.
Elastigirl? You married Elastigirl? And got busy!
Yet she and Jax's daughter, Jacqueline, along with other young characters, were used to usher in the next era of Mortal Kombat fighters, similar to what Boruto did after Shippuden. Only in this case, these young fighters are here to push aside their elders to endorse more woke into our culture and medium.
How about you, Cassie? Can you summon anything like that? Or did it skip a generation?
Take it easy, Jin.
We didn't need a Halo in Darfur, or Iran, or Kurdistan, did we, Jackie?
Nope, we didn't. Shaolin monks ever send you there, Jen?
I've seen plenty of action. Takeda and I both. Stuff that blow your special forces mind.
At ease. You're all here because you deserve to be. You're beautiful and unique snowflakes.
Not to mention other controversies beside the ones I mentioned and the usual microtransactions, but trying to make Jax himself into an SJW and pulling what I call a really racist moment at the end of his story, with Jax freeing black slaves from the historic Atlantic slave trade at the cost of others' lives, saying like, quote,
"And I'm not waiting centuries for people to get woke when I've got the power to speed things up."
Which some at the PC Gamer say it's no big deal for anyone to get upset about, saying, quote, "The point is, there's really nothing controversial about the idea in Jax's ending because slavery is an indefensible practice and only a few loud racists were ever actually mad about it." Farmer people are critical of MK11's microtransactions and always online requirement for some modes. There hasn't been much backlash about Jax's ending. It's not even the only Mortal Kombat 11 ending to reference slavery. Baraka's ending sees him freeing Turkotans from slavery to conquer Adina, Outworld, and Earthrealm. End quote. Clearly, the author is an SJW himself saying that he justifies Jax's actions of genocide in order to save lives, which clearly goes against who he is, only to use him as a means to an end in the name of identity politics.
That's 2 words! Hey, I'm talking here!
And the guy is comparing Jax to Baraka is like comparing a hammer with a knife. Need I say more? The only 2 things I liked about this game was the DLC in which the developers brought back the original actor who played Shang Tsung in the original 90s Mortal Kombat flick to resume his role as the character for the game's DLC, which to me was truly impressive. Also, they had Kronika voiced by Jennifer Hale, best known as the voice of Felicia Hardy, aka Black Cat from 90s Spider-Man, including the voice in the PlayStation game along with other female side characters in Air Electro. Also the voice of Dr. Naomi Hunter from Metal Gear Solid 1 and 4, the voice of the female Commander Shepard, and also the voice of the badass redhead Ivy from Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. Ironically, Hale was the voice of Sonya Blade in the Mortal Kombat anime movie The Journey Begins, alongside other legendary voice actors like Jim Cummings, aka Darkwing Duck.
Precisely why the criminal element fears me. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the combination lock on the vaults of justice. I am Darkwing Duck.
And Jeff Bennett, aka Dexter's dad.
Hello, honey. Hello, Dexter. Hello, Dee Dee. Hello, honey. Hello, honey.
And Johnny Bravo.
Hey, dudes, it's time to chill out at the spring break pool party.
I love the arts.
Then, the amoeba envelops its prey in a deadly dance of death.
Hey, that ain't my dance show.
Tiny, hair-like cilia. Insouciant paramecium.
There's only one explanation. Tiny, invisible ghost monkeys changing my channels.
I don't think so.
Give me my remote, Carl.
No! You left it on my side of the line. Neener, neener, neener.
Why, you little...
Uh-oh. Battle stations!
Huh? Well, when I get my hands on you, I'm gonna... What the... Hey! Oh!
Talk about a blast from the past. Oh, before I forget, Hale was also the voice of Tanya in Mortal Kombat X, so you can add that to the list of other characters she's voiced over in the Mortal Kombat series.
So what else is new?
Regardless of fan service, they do not change my opinion on how critical I am about the game overall. Even despite the DLC fires like Spawn, Terminator, and RoboCop, it won't get me to change my mind to play or pay for the game, nor DLC, considering MK11 felt like a glorified fan game with a big budget value that's not returnable nor refundable. Need I say more?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. For me money. Welcome to
NetherRealm Studios.
May I take your money?
We want a refund.
Ed Boon.
What's wrong with you?
We want our money back. All 46,853 of us. Hey, where'd he go?
Next on the list of victims to identity politics is She-Ra from the Netflix reboot. Only this reboot, to me, feels between confusing and insulting to not just those who are fans of either the characters, but general animation or storytelling as well. She-Ra, Princesses of Power was based on the hit TV show from the 80s that starred alongside the Hercules-inspired character He-Man, also referred to as He-Man Masters of the Universe. Both shows were just as popular and well-known as they were back then, even during this day and age of insanity and ignorance. They were mostly popular with the toys and other merchandise, which Barbie company Mattel made millions off of, no different than Hasbro with the Transformers, G.I. Joe, and even My Little Pony franchises as well. She-Ra and He-Man are often seen today as various forms and memes all over the internet, similar to Spider-Man or The Office.
Scoot in front of your seat, Jeremy.
What's going on? What do these guys want?
Toy business, it's cutthroat.
It's playtime!
Back in 2017, Netflix and DreamWorks Animation Television, best known for the questionable Voltron and VeggieTale reboots, had announced they were rebooting another favorite IP, which was She-Ra Princess of Power. Yet the name was later changed to Princesses of Power to promote the show's LGBTQ messages, which some had concerns including retconning the show's characters and story to be more progressive. The reboot was helmed by Noelle Stevenson, who I mentioned earlier, that created the graphic Tumblr novel Namana, and was just fresh from a role of creating a pro-LGBTQ comic with 3 others called Lumberjanes, a twist on the men's take on lumberjacks. Outside the realm of entertainment, she's also a political activist in the LGBTQ community with the infamous Comicsgate, with some such as myself calling her the other Anita Sarkeesian, since it's basically the same as Gamergate. For those who are new to the topic, here is my brief description of what both Gamergate and Comicsgate are really all about. Basically, women like Anita Sarkeesian, Zoe Quinn, and others, after coming out from gender studies brainless, believe women are mostly being treated like playthings or sex objects for men with games like Tomb Raider or Mortal Kombat, to just name a couple. Yet the rhetoric is flawed due to the fact that some women do play these video games, despite statistics showing males play more video games than females, no different than cartoons or toys, which are not sexist by any means, and not all women are into them as others, which shouldn't be a big deal, but to these feminazis it is. Those like Anita believes games shouldn't be a boys-only club, which it never was, and where their argument pretty much falls apart like a stack of cards due to their sexist nature of attacking both males and females at every turn who don't go along with their insane feminist. In short, women like Anita are nothing more than a bunch of scamming, hypocritical, uncultured, uneducated feminazis hell-bent on ruining the fun for everyone else at any cost. Need I say more?
Cheetah! Rapscallion! Flimflammer!
Gamergate has since moved on from video games to comics with Comicsgate and other forms of entertainment by attacking those referred to as alt-right, a term created by Hillary Clinton during the 2016 presidential campaign against Donald Trump, and pointing out his supporters who believe in the conspiracy theories about Clinton deleting her 33,000 emails regardless of an FBI subpoena, which may or may not have classified information in them, which she did do, which is a fact, Jack.
Where are we on wiping the Congressman's cloud?
That's done, but there's a team at Invite scrubbing the backups, too.
They're good at this?
They're the best computer forensics team we have. You pay top dollar, you get top talent.
That's what I want to hear.
But it's also to stereotype people in a McCarthy-type way, those who believe in free speech, the right to bear arms, and pretty much everything else connected to the Constitution itself, saying those who defend people's rights like
Bias, I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
and Ben Shapiro.
Well, I mean, I'm not supremely worried about it just because the consumption of these violent video games has been going up continuously since the early 90s, and yet youth violence has been going down since the early 90s. The correlation actually doesn't fit. As far as individual instances, I mean, you can find patterns in very sporadic instances among virtually all data sets, but there's some pretty mixed data about this. It's true that the American Psychological Association recommends that parents not allow their kids to play these games. I wouldn't let my kids play these games because I think they're immoral, frankly. But that should really be up to parents. I'm not sure the government should be in the business of stepping in. In 2011, Justice Scalia, in a majority decision 5-4, found that it was actually unconstitutional for the state of California to regulate the capacity of parents to be able to get these video games for their kids, or even for kids to get them themselves without parental permission. You saw that as a content violation under the First Amendment.
Are alt-right Nazis, according to her, in short, are Trump supporters. Therefore, those people by Hillary's rhetoric should have their rights stripped from either being an American or being a human being completely without due process. Talk about being a fascist, power-hungry
I don't mean to speak out of school, Doctor, but in the true spirit of democracy, which our great, wonderful country was founded upon, I say let the people vote. Let them choose. One person, one vote. I say let us vote. Let us vote! Let us vote! Let us vote! Let us vote! Please, don't be a fascist, Franny. Let condom ring, Doctor.
No wonder Bill cheated with her with Jeffrey Epstein. I would too if I had a witch for a wife who wouldn't treat me like a real person and instead uses me as a get-out-of-jail-free card, just like Amber Heard. Sure, I didn't like Trump as much as the next person, yet you gotta give the man credit for calling out this bullshit like it needed to be.
You know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically,
she's asking a question. Don't
Mr.
be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
No,
give
I'm
us a
not going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a
Can
question.
you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
And exposing all the assholes in both parties who are nothing but clowns in suits. Thus, welcome to Clown World. Population, idiotic, and ignorant. Where the real jokers of the world are running the show, whether we like it or not. Need I say more?
Now this is what I call a sidewalk sale.
It's recently been revealed that there is in fact a blacklist in the entertainment industry pointed out by YouTubers Doomcock and Clownfish TV that's going on in Hollywood, gaming, comic book companies, as censoring and canceling those, as I previously mentioned, who don't go along with the leftist groupthink and then be targeted in various forms of what I call character assassination. People like acclaimed veteran voice actor Vic Mignogna, or MMA fighter/actress Gina Carano, who speak freely about their opinions or is more respected and admired by the public due to treating people like people and not looking down on them unlike others that are too big for their wallets. I'm looking at you, Funimation and Disney. Continue on with the topic of She-Ra, here's something to think about when it comes to Gina Carano, who I call the real-life Lola Bunny, based on character traits. Let me break it down for those who don't understand where I'm coming from. 1. Despite the fact that Lola is a basketball player and Gina Carano is an MMA fighter, they're both athletes regardless. 2. Despite one being a furry and the other being a human being, they're both strong and capable women in both the fields of male-dominated sports. 3. They both embrace their womanhood and kick ass doing so despite the jealous, immature SJWs out there. 4. They both have humility and respect towards those that are different, but are not resorting to bullying like others who think they have the right to do so, which they clearly don't. I'm looking at you, LeBum James.
I'm here to tell you right now that I'm sorry, I got bad news for LeBron James. Consider yourself disrespected.
And lastly, despite one being fictional than the other, they are both being canceled because they are the definitions of what strong, empowering feminine women should be, which the LSM does not want to promote at all. Even though Gina was canceled due to a tweet she made, most people would agree that hers was less offensive than the main star of The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal's, posted months ago. Also, it's a fact that those in the Kathleen Kennedy cult of Lucasfilms hates Gina's character in the show because she's exactly the character fans and people in general find more of an interest than that entitled bitch Rey. Similar to Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars, Sabine Wren from Star Wars Rebels, Cara Dune is what a real female character should be, considering Rey from the newest Star Wars movies is nothing more than what we call a Mary Sue. Which in other words means she gets everything without any explanation why, or that she's entitled to whatever without going through the trials and errors to get to them based on experience. Gina's character is exactly the opposite, which is what pisses off the SJW fan Nazis out there who believe Rey is the best as ever when she clearly isn't, and ship her along with Darth Vader wannabe Kylo Ren, a match made in hell together, but are nothing more than another example of a toxic relationship that is considered to be acceptable. Need I say more? In short, Rey was created intentionally to replace Luke Skywalker because he was a male character which Kennedy had deep hatred for, thus turning him into a grumpy old man, which I will get into more later in this video. Getting back to She-Ra, she was, of course, retconned by Noelle Stevens intentionally to push more identity politics into the front of the crowd again, same with like Steven Universe and Disney Star vs. Forces Evil, which I will say briefly I was a fan of until the 3rd season, which from then on was pretty much like a teen drama with a storyline that felt like it came from a fanfic. Plus, they ruined some of my favorites into pale imitations of their former selves like Queen Moon, Hickapoo, and even Tom by series' end. Hated the fact they turned Star's mom into the female version of Emperor Palpatine with the whole play both sides bullshit, which goes against everything she was already established by the end of season 2, along with the fact that the animation was less exciting compared to the first 2 seasons.
Ludo?
Ludo's not here right now,
But if you'd like, you can leave a message.
You did not want to do that, little man! That's it! You can't keep doing that, Chancellor.
Chancellor, no.
Hello, Moon. It's been a while.
Toffee.
And had many issues with continuity, similar to Steven Universe, which left most viewers and fans of animation like myself confused as hell. Yet these idiot fan bases like She-Ra and Steven Universe tell us we should keep our mouth shut and accept them for what they are because they're stunning and brave to society and despite having actual flaws in them. I swear, the moment someone tries to constructively criticize or points out the issues in either character development or continuity, it's like we're destroying their precious golden ring, which justifies them to bully people off of social media, which there is no excuse for.
Master Tricksters. Of course he did. I told you he was tricksy. I told you he was false. Master is a friend. A friend. Master betrayed us. No, not his business. Leave us alone. Filthy little hobbitses! They stole it from us! No!
What did they steal?
My precious!
It's even worse when it comes to fan art of either of these shows and others SJWs cling on to like they'd be lost without them to get over their tedious nonsense.
And if I don't get the things I am after, I'm going to scream.
In an article by Geek Dad in 2018, the author points out the pros and cons of fandoms where some of them, like of that of Voltron, She-Ra, and Steven Universe, tend to take things too far involving shipping up characters compared to other popular fandoms out there, saying, quote, "But the problem isn't limited to the Voltron fandom. Other shows like Steven Universe, Yuri on Ice, and Sherlock all have large selections of militant shippers. But the most aggressive of the bunch is a new subset of shippers, collectively known as ants. It's a term these toxic members of fandom wear proudly, despite the association of combative behavior. Ants appear to be more responsive to, among other factors, changes in how fans interact online. As fans moved from sites like LiveJournal, where content was opt-in, to Tumblr, where content is opt-out, the method in which fans consume content changed. Thanks to ants, the old adage of early fandom of don't like, don't read, or the idea that consumers are responsible for avoiding content they don't like, has been replaced with discourse, death threats, and violence. Despite all this negativity, I believe fandoms are an incredibly positive thing." End quote. I highly recommend you check out the rest of his article if you want more of a breakdown of where he's coming from. But simply put, every fandom has its pros and cons, but all should be handled maturely without resorting to lynching others who aren't on the same page as the rest.
What's that, a welcoming committee? No. That's a lynch mob.
It's best to focus on the good a fandom does and not the bad where the media can exploit it. No different from Marvel or furries. Back on topic, I'm not a fan of either 80s She-Ra or He-Man, yet familiar with their marketing on toys years ago and the memes that are all over the net. As for She-Ra itself, all I can be is critical about the redesigns of each character in some episodes of the show. Those like myself have noticed the big differences in the reboot designs compared to the original, found them to be sexist and ignorant intentionally, to body shame good-looking people in general, besides rainbow washing these characters like Lara Croft as a marketing gimmick for SJWs. It's clear from the redesigns that the animators did intentionally gender bend some of the female characters, with She-Ra herself looking like a male, as seen here. Here's how I can best sum up my opinion and thoughts about the She-Ra reboot designs as a whole.
How about this one? I call it bold and brash.
More like belongs in the trash!
Sorry, I must have missed that one.
I can't break down everything involving She-Ra, so I highly recommend you check out these 4 videos right here for different opinions and perspectives on the show. The first is from Clownfish TV, where this awesome nerdy couple breaks down and explains what's going on with toxic fandoms, especially those of She-Ra and others. The second is from a woman named Liana K, who's been at the forefront of being critical of Gamergate, but previously gave her opinion and overview about the first season of She-Ra. The third is from a video from someone who's clearly a fan of the series, who gives his 2 cents about the forced shipping of Catra and She-Ra at series end. And finally, the last one is from Anna, that Star Wars girl, where she is joined by Clownfish TV's Geeky Sparkles after Anna was attacked on social media last November for simply pointing out the character design differences between 80s She-Ra to the reboot ones, which was practically a major sin to these SJWs. Not to mention Geeky herself is a hardcore fan of the original, so it's a really engaging chat between the 2 women with that topic and others to be critical on about our culture. To those who have questions asking why did some people have issues with Stevenson doing the reboot, or if that's the case, why couldn't she create her own franchise inspired by the series like she did with the graphic novels? Well, I'll tell y'all why. To put it bluntly, people like Noelle Stevens believes it's much easier using someone else's work to capitalize on their ideas rather than make something that possibly wouldn't be as profitable or marketable as She-Ra. Therefore, these people use existing IPs like She-Ra as an excuse to rebrand something in order to bring their toxic, sexist identity politics into the culture more, along with bullying those who are fans of the original, just like those who are critical of Disney's Star Wars. Need I say more?
That is completely taken out of context. You little...
As for the controversies about the shipping of She-Ra and Catra, I was able to find that some fans felt it was between forced and toxic at the same time regarding Catra's actions towards She-Ra at the end of Season 3. Yet those who are familiar more with fanfics instead of actual storytelling say they should still be together regardless because they're stunning and brave to their community. And if they don't get their way, they'll throw a childish temper tantrum on social media and attack anyone who criticizes their beloved shipping of the characters like a bunch of vultures. Now, I was majorly bummed that Dipper Pines didn't end up getting shipped with Pacifica Northwest at the end of Gravity Falls. But did I throw a fit because it didn't happen? Of course not. Because it wouldn't do anyone any good and would just make me look like an immature automatically taking away my man card for a while. Yes, I was disappointed Dipper ended up with Wendy over age difference, yet I got over it and moved on with my life. But in my mind's eye, I will always think of Dipper and Pacifica as the perfect couple based on life experiences and chemistry. However, I did watch Netflix She-Ra in regards to the final 2 episodes of Season 3, and it's clear that Catra made her deal with the devil and was no longer a redeemable character after that. Her actions alone were just evil. Which there are no excuses for. No amount of magical rainbow of friendship could have saved Catra from her actions this time around. Let me just point out the fact that she made her choice to let the evil side take control of her willingly, regardless of her emotional life experiences. Just like a symbiote taking over someone like Eddie Brock because of jealousy and hatred for Peter Parker in the Spider-Man comics and 90s cartoon. Brock willingly let the creature take control of him so as to kill Spidey, which he has no one to blame for but himself, no different than Catra. It's clear in this screenshot it shows She-Ra's facial look of resentment towards Catra's actions. In short, the look that She-Ra is giving in this one moment clearly says, "You're dead to me" expression. Unless I'm misunderstanding that, for which in that case, I'm sorry, but this is how I'm interpreting what She-Ra's facial expression is, so blame the designers if you want to blame anybody for that.
You are out of your mind.
From then on, the rest of the story of the show plays like a damn fanfic with continuity issues. It's what I consider to be poor or rushed storytelling in order to mainly focus on representation and shipping rather than genuine storytelling and fleshed out diverse characters. Its story makes as much sense of that of Amethyst manipulating Greg Universe with shape-shifting to his dead wife and getting a slap on the wrist by clearing out his garage, or the storyline of MK11.
I see now.
The hourglass showed that only I could wield the crown against Chronica successfully. You let me win. And to ensure victory, you sacrificed the lives of your friends. How deliciously cold-blooded.
This is one of the many reasons why animes and mangas are much more popular over Western animation and comic books in recent years, because they understand what kind of content they're making them for before they're even released. Just look at the sales between the two on Amazon for the last year, and you tell me if I'm wrong on that statement.
I grew up watching anime because American shows are like episodic, and anime is like, you know, what is it called, like a serial? Like it's continuous. And so watching like Dragon Ball Z growing up, what happens next? And they always leave on the cliffhanger, you know, like Goku's about to go Super Saiyan, and you're like, I gotta see the next episode, oh man. And you have this really long story where someone asks you like, what's happening in this episode? Oh dude, you gotta watch 100 episodes to figure out what's happening here. And then American shows, it was like, at the end of every show, it just restarts.
Yes.
It's just like nothing changes, and it was just gag humor, and I wasn't a big fan of that.
There was a famous story a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, where one manga series called Demon Slayer, I think, is outselling the entire American comics industry.
Whoa!
Just one.
Well, hold on.
I've always said, like, manga is like the MMA versus, if you've ever seen those videos of the MMA fighter versus like the Tai Chi fighter, and it's just like a brutal beatdown of like, American comics look really great, but if you pit American comics versus manga, manga's gonna win every time.
Why is that?
I could do a whole thesis.
Look, I'll tell you this. When I see these like ultra woke trash comics,
no one wants to
anywhere near that.
Well,
Nobody wants
why did that happen? It seems like that happened to comics in a way that it just hasn't happened to other
They
industries in an overt way. So most creative industries lean to the left, but it just seems like comics are really far to the left compared to the other ones, and in a much more overt way.
They
so
took
most
over, man.
movies and television shows will have a left-wing message, but they're not like making a big deal of the fact that they are having a left-wing message, not as often. Yeah, but why comics
Disney,
though? Why don't the same rules apply to these other industries?
Probably. My assumption is that comic sales were slumping, and these companies thought, we're only getting white men. We have this whole untapped audience of diversity, of like, you know, non-white, female, etc.
Did they though?
So how could? Yes, that's what a lot of them do. They think their core audience is this one group, and how do we expand into all these other areas? So what they start doing is making diverse messages because they think that's what people want, instead of realizing nobody wants that. So these comics start seeing their sales decline, and instead of saying, let's make another brand new comic for this market, they say, let's make Iron Man a young black woman. Because then the Iron Man fans will watch and read, and the other communities who don't now will, and it's like, no, now you've just made a weird character that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. I look at manga, it's not in there. Like I got Crunchyroll, man, and I'm like, each and every one of these action shows, I just watch, I'm like, wow, it's actually pretty good.
Well, you want to talk about diversity, for example. Like, there were so many female creators in Japan creating, like, say, shoujo series. That's a girl series. You know, I've got a couple of Rumiko Takahashi, Masami Suda, Fuyumi Soryo.
Yeah, but Rumiko did Inuyasha. And
Inuyasha, dude, she did so many. And if you want to talk about like female creators and
those are
empowering,
huge manga
massive.
shows.
She's one of the richest manga creators in history, woman. And there was no inkling of like, oh, she was oppressed or she wasn't. She just made good books, and she found an audience that wanted to buy and read her stuff. They were crazy about it. Even here in the States. That's why if I go to Barnes & Noble, I try to like talk to some people like, hey, why do you read this series? And they just tell me, oh, I just like the story. I want to find out what's happening next, even though it's not in color. Americans love books in color, but if you give them like Berserk, the creator of Berserk, Kentaro Miura, recently died. Everybody now was talking about, all of last week, we're talking about how much they love Berserk. It's a black and white series, one of the coolest, darkest fantasy series you've ever heard of. They love that series.
So Inuyasha is about a furry, and Ranma is about a transgender martial artist.
Really?
I'm grossly mischaracterizing the animes.
I was also
no, but in a way, I mean, really, that gives you an idea of the people just wanted to read a story that they wanted to enjoy. There was no pushing of an ideology.
Yeah.
For them, especially in manga, story is the king. They're really focused on how do I get the readers to read the next chapter. Always, they're planning the story in such a way, like I just started getting onto One Piece, and I can't get enough of it. it's so fun, and I want to find out what's happening next, and I just like the characters, I like the world. It's fun to read. An American comic nowadays, like, I open it and I have to push myself. I have to force myself to turn the page. It's so boring, and I can't explain why, but when I read a manga, I can't put them down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Critical, you know, DC, Marvel these days have been on a losing streak in terms of the comic books. Say what you will about the movies or whatever, but in terms of the books, they haven't been doing a great job. In fact, they've been pretty bad, like very bad. In terms of the direction, the lack of respect to what happened before, legacy of these characters that they have, leading with these social preferences, not even good analogies, just straight up beating you over the head, like they don't know what they're doing. You wouldn't support characters that are new, or you wouldn't support it to the, you know, similar degree, or, you know, all these characters were created back in the gap. So we have to kind of try to make it more reflective of the real world. So we have to race change instead of coming up with new characters because you wouldn't support. That's the excuse that they use, and these are terrible arguments. All it is a deflection to try to get the heat off of them because people are pointing out, guys like myself, their creativity is just bankrupt. They're creatively bankrupt. There's something that's growing in the West, even more, that proves all of what they say to the contrary. Anime and manga. The Japanese are able to sit here and come up with stories that are new. They're not like long standing. I'm not talking like the Dragon Balls of the world that have been a thing forever. No, I'm talking these fools are turning hits into something that was created less than a decade ago. One Punch Man was not that long ago when it was created. My Hero Academia was not that long ago. So why on earth can they come up with new brand? I'm talking brand new, launching entire universes, worlds that are brand new. Not to mention they're not like beating you over the head with the political or social agendas. That's never mind that. But these things are like brand new. That is every day. Like, I'm not that big into it, but every day I hear new manga, new anime. That's just a hit, and it's like watching something that I've never seen before. May it be influenced on something that happened before? Yeah, but it's like entirely new. It's a new thing. These characters, there's no predating. No, it's just new. The whole thing is just new. How can they continue to do that? And I'm supposed to hear these mainstream books who probably have more money, mainstream holders of these mainstream comic books. I'm supposed to be like, yeah, well, they got a race change because you... Manga and anime, it's existing right now, and it proves all of what you're saying to the contrary. They come up with new stories based on characters that have special abilities and everything. Like it's, again, it's almost like it's going out of style. They do it so much, it's easy for them. So why can they do it, but the people that have, like the DCs or the Marvels of the world, seem to have so much trouble, or the excuses that, well, we can't come up with creative characters that people support. Well, the Japanese don't have that problem. Maybe it's actually you. Maybe it's the people that are part of your projects. Maybe it's the creative directors. Maybe it's the writers. Maybe it's the producers. Maybe it has nothing to do with this idea that the market doesn't want that, or something. Maybe that has nothing to do with it. Maybe it's simply you are creatively bankrupt. So what you do is you lead with your social political views, like as in that has to be what comes first. You have to do race changes. You have to do sexuality changes. You have to do all these forms of different tokenization because you are incapable of coming up with a new character, new likable things. When the Japanese, and of course you got independent comics here as well, but the Japanese especially are doing it like it's nothing. I'm talking stuff that came out within the last decade, bro, that is brand new and fresh. You the first in best dressed with DC and Marvel, so you should be doing that like it's going out of style. You can do it, you just don't have the capacity to do it in the terms of like your creativity. And I don't think that's what they want to concede, that the people that they have on their projects don't know what they're doing.
Hell, I honestly rather be watching Ramna 1.5 or Yuri on Ice because they're far more entertaining and meaningful regardless of the target audience they're going for. Best of all, they do not assault or bully someone who is or isn't of LGBTQ, but just a fan of anime that's entertaining and comedic. In conclusion, Netflix's She-Ra is a mess from start to finish. It's mainly for an insecure audience, like an at-home therapy session for those who haven't gotten over their TDS and need something as their escapism.
Your fantasies about the mask are inducing hallucinations, feelings of persecution.
Friends! I'm not the one in denial!
Its flashy animation is not enough of a distraction, along with its cheaply sexist designs involving that god-awful Cal art style that just shows there wasn't enough originality or uniqueness in its presentation compared to the original 80s. FYI, the original She-Ra was actually historically helmed by actual females who were responsible not just for the original character designs, but the toy models as well. Look it up. And lastly, it's for those who love fanfics and shipping characters even if they're toxic, like Catra, no different than Raylos, but I guess it gets propped up more if it's same-sex rather than a heterosexual couple. Talk about double standards in media. This show is just another example of the continuing downfall of Western animation in the last 7 years. Like Steven Universe, Netflix's She-Ra is the prime example of when you allow the creative process to be taken over by representation and ignorance at the same time, leaving no room for true creativity, continuity, storytelling, and fleshed out characters. Once were timeless and meaningful characters have since become victims of this toxic political climate of today. It's important to point out that some of these SJWs are into rape fics involving Catra, which are plainly just justifying those like Johnny Depp to continue being in an abusive relationship with Amber Heard, which shouldn't be acceptable at all. I can't imagine what Silent Bob's Kevin Smith has in mind for the He-Man reboot. Even if the artwork is being done by acclaimed animator and comic book artist Jeff Masoda, best known for his work on Jackie Chan Adventures and the Batman 2004 cartoon, it's Smith's political beliefs that makes me feel cautious about where this project goes. Though I shan't hold my breath if it turns out to be a repeat of the same thing we got with Netflix's She-Ra reboot, only to continue the sexist attack on men, women, and culture with redesigns like this. Need I say more?
What the fuck?
That about wraps up my list of female characters involved in identity politics beside Lola herself. I'm sure there's more victims to this, but let's move on to the next part of this video. Besides the female characters I've listed, let's go into the male characters that are also victims to this SJW feminazi. Starting with Zack from Netflix's reboot of Carmen Sandiego. Now for those who don't know who Zack is, here's a brief history lesson about him. He first appeared in the original 1994 animated series Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego as the youngest yet smartest Acme agent alongside his badass older sister Ivy, voiced by MK11's Jennifer Hale, and their chief, voiced by Roger Bumpass, best known as Squidward from SpongeBob SquarePants, as they track down and capture Carmen Sandiego along with her vile hench people. Alongside the aid and help of other young Acme agents from around the world, the show mostly involves history and geography, similar to the classic educational computer game. Zack is described as extremely smart, talented, resourceful, clever, a movie buff at times, and laid back. And no, he's a real ladies' man when he least expects it. He's fluent in over 20 languages like Spanish, German, and Zack in the 1994 series was voiced by Scott Manville, best known for his role as Robin in both Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, including the voice of Kevin French from Mission Hill, Shaggy from Get a Clue Scooby-Doo, and the Band Geek Bucky from Randy Cunningham 9th Grade Ninja. In the Netflix series, Zack is portrayed as one of the friends alongside his somewhat bossy sister Ivy to help college-age Carmen Sandiego is between a talented actor and getaway driver during Carmen's heists instead of hunting for her like the 1994 cartoon. He still retains some of the traits of his original self with being smart, resourceful, and clever, only the producers include him sometimes being a klutz, cocky, and not as confident as his 1994 self. The producers of the show not only changed him, but intentionally retconned Carmen Sandiego's backstory along with other characters like Dr. Maelstrom and Cerebellum that previously appeared in the original 1994 cartoon, including his sister Ivy being a year older than Zack, where in the original, Zack was 14 but jumped to 18 for the reboot. Ivy's age in the original 1994 series was never really mentioned, yet it was possible she was between the ages of 16 and 17 years of age compared to Zack, given that she sometimes calls him Little Bro. Not to mention Zack's hair going from messy blonde to redhead just like his sister to play more into the twin stereotype, and changing their birthplace to Boston, Massachusetts, where in the original 1994 cartoon was San Francisco, California. I could go into the fact that the showrunners made Ivy going from badass martial arts expert who can handle herself into being more of a but I'll save that with my other criticisms about the show for another time. At the focus of this topic, the show turned its once awesome character like Zack that back in the day boys could one day be inspired to be, into someone that plays into the SJW stereotype of him acting mature and less confident than his previous self, also less of a ladies' man, and not to mention signs of incest at times between him and Ivy.
Chad,
Adultery is bad. But incest is...
Despite the moments where it's somewhat educational, the show mainly focuses on college-age Carmen Sandiego as being an anti-hero trying to lock the secrets of her past while trying to stop Vile from within with the aid of Ivy, Zack, and Player to stop them.
We are the good guys.
Absolutely. We are dealing with Vile. Showtime! There's more to the story, isn't there?
No more running. No more secrets.
It kind of feels like I'm watching between Ocean's 11 mixed with Lupin III with a little bit of geography to say it's educational. Not to mention that the detective that chases Carmen plays into the SJW stereotype similar to Zack of being not just incompetent, but spiteful to his female assistant. The showrunners even try to ship her with Carmen to further their forced LGBTQ representation identity politics into another well-respected and fun IP almost everyone knows and loves, just like Netflix's She-Ra. I'll say this, for some who are watching this video and you like both the Netflix reboots, that's fine. But for me, I'll stick with the originals like Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, that's more fun, educational, but most importantly does not insult my intelligence nor gender, along with watching Lupin III for that whole cat and mouse, thief and detective, catch me if you can kind of entertainment.
Lupin! Lupin! That man is a notorious thief who works all over the world!
Let's go meet this treasure that's soon to be ours.
Don't say that I didn't warn you.
Oh, did I forget to mention that the theme song in the 1994 cartoon is actually a lot more catchier and upbeat than the Netflix reboot?
Can you help us find
Moving on to the next male character on the hit list is Apu from The Simpsons. Now, for this one, it's pretty straightforward considering it's been covered in many news and media outlets, but for those who are clueless or ignorant, here's a brief description of the matter. Apu's voice actor Hank Azaria recently came under fire back in 2008 from the racist SJWs both in Hollywood and in public, saying voicing a character like Apu, according to them, is racist to actual Indians.
Racist?
Remember, my pet, anything you have to question must be racist.
Racist.
Yeah, this is all thanks in part by comedian Harry Condabolo, who did the hit piece documentary The Problem with Apu, all because of the fact the guy was offended that people called him Apu and took it as offensive as the word nigger to blacks.
You better have insurance.
Nigga, you better have insurance. Whooping insurance, and you about to pay a deductible.
In Harry's own country of India, believe it or not, people there love the character from the show. But Condabolo was on a warpath to make sure that the character gets cancelled or replaced with a real person of color, which that in itself isn't really being progressive or tolerant as he claims he is. Harry Condabolo is nothing more, in my opinion, a two-faced liar, uncultured, uneducated, that was successful in his racist actions. Even trying to act surprised on his tweets regarding the rumors after his hit piece was made not long after that. Talk about playing both sides of the argument in plain sight, like Emperor Palpatine.
I think we should listen to Lisa Simpson, who last week addressed the controversy around Apu, an Indian character who runs a convenience store. Because we all know there's no such thing.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
It's hard to say. Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect. What can you do?
Some things will be dealt with at a later date.
If at all.
Exactly. What can you do? Label us all degenerates for not already being who we would eventually become? 20 years ago, the jokes on Friends were just funny. Now, some millennials, I applaud the sane ones, but some find the jokes sexist, transphobic, and fat-shaming. Okay, but if you spend your time combing through old TV shows to identify stuff that by today's standards looks bad, you're not woke, you're just a...
What this is right now, and by the way, there are millions of people who still like and watch The Simpsons.
Yeah.
This is actually giving a door to any and all hecklers. It's giving just as much power to the heckler as it is to the comedian and the audience now. Picture this in a comedy club. A comedian tells a joke about, or does an Apu, does an impression, tells a joke, the entire audience is laughing, but one person, like HuffPo, or the people who make these documentaries, or the people who demand apologies for all things offensive in comedy, one heckler speaks up and says, boo, that's offensive. What Hank Azaria is saying is that person's opinion, which is a small minority, is just as valid as not only the opinion of the audience who've paid to be there, or who've tuned in, who've paid with their time, but as valid as the person who created the art in the first place. People don't understand. They're retroactively giving authority to hecklers and empowering them. It used to be, someone spoke, I'm offended, and you say, well, shut up and get out of the club, and you make fun of their mother, generally implying that she was some kind of a whore.
Invite them on stage.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Now it's saying, let's listen to the heckler.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Here's
this
the microphone.
For people who don't know, this all stems from a documentary from a self-professed comedian, an Indian American, South Asian American, I don't know how we call it now. A self-professed comedian telling other comedians what comedy should be because that's how you know it's funny. This documentary.
My name is Hari Kundabola. I've had a great career filled with laughter, critical acclaim. I should be completely happy, but there's still one man who haunts me. Apu Nahasapima Pedalon.
A white guy doing an impression of a white guy making fun of my father.
There are accents that, by their nature, to white Americans, sound funny. Period.
It's funny because it's racist.
Actually, no. It's funny because it's foreign to us, and generally, just like my mom's French-Canadian accent. Everyone here laughs. She doesn't think that you hate her. She doesn't think that you're racist. It's just funny because she adds an S where there is not one needed and one where there isn't.
Yeah.
Say, hey, guys, I'm going to go down to do the store grocery and buy some shrimps. That's hysterical. Thank you, Francine.
Be sure to wash your hands with Teaves.
Yeah, be sure to wash it. If you are sick, take the oil of Teaves. Do you mean Eve oil?
Yeah.
Eve oils, mother? Now I'm getting confused with the plural.
Like when you say Nike. Yeah, you know,
just like
give you a hard time.
Nike. Nike. Whereas my mom goes, it's Nicks. No, Mom, there's no plural on there. But here's the thing. It's funny because it's funny because it's foreign, Mr. Indian documentary film. Kind of like your people do in India. Let's see. Oh, there you go.
So much
Yeah, these are actually Bollywood films. Say hi. Oh mama. No, I just did. Oh mama. Oh mama. Oh mama. Oh mama. But we're going to be mad because of a cartoon character with an accent. Just so you know, not everyone in the Cleveland show voiced by a black guy either. But not only India, all cultures do this. They all tend to laugh or make fun of other cultures, or at least observe the differences because that's what makes comedy. You look at the differences of people and you see what bonds us together. Granted, they don't do it that well in Mexico. Look what they do here. It's pretty.
Disculpe, maestra, pero mire, me encontré a Jorge allá afuera jugando con lobo.
Es el niño que nos enviaron del intercambio escolar.
Ay, pensé que era Jorgito enchapopotado.
Those silly Mexicans.
Silly Mexicans. Now, guess what? If you used a racial slur for the Mexicans who just put a guy in blackface and said he was covered in tar, we'd be demonetized. Look, we are having a sale! Ay, papi! You ever seen these commercials?
Sex sells in other countries.
Sex sells in Latin American countries. Here's what's so crazy to me is this is the state of comedy. Again, that's why I asked you, what do you think about the state of comedy in 2018? it can no longer be fun. Or when you see Amy Schumer now with her recent film, it's not, listen, it's not because she's fat and unattractive. It's because she demands that we praise her for being fat and unattractive. And she talks about how comfortable she is and how comedy needs to have comedy sometimes doesn't need to have a purpose. And here's the thing, when comedy does have a purpose, it now, according to the left, needs to be the right purpose, or it's not allowed in comedy. A lot of comedy that we do here has a purpose, and it has a more meaningful purpose than telling women that their stretch marks are awesome, or telling people that they need to apologize for an Indian accent. It has a purpose actually espousing freedom and freedom of speech, and making sure that people who actually exercise these rights aren't imprisoned, aren't fined, like you see with Count Dankula or our friend Mike Ward, who was put before Human Rights Tribunal in Canada. That's what we're doing with our comedy. That's the purpose to our comedy. Your purpose is to shut down comedy because you find it offensive, because you're a second-rate comedian who made a documentary that sucks. You talentless South Asian American, which doesn't make that much sense as I say it out loud. I feel bad about it. Now compare that. That's comedy in 2018. You want to tell me that that's more fun than what comedy used to be, late night used to be?
Marco Mangananzo was hurt.
Marco Mangananzo?
Trombino Bombazzo. 2 bullets in the head Thursday. But I tell you, I'm a Jew and you're an Italian. And here we have what? And this is a great Irishman. This is America.
Yeah. Well, it used to be.
No, you simpering idiot. You still don't see, do you? I did all this for you. When we were school children together, it was you who taunted me, who humiliated me, who got the other children to laugh at me. But things have changed. You're the outcast now. After tonight, you'll know what it's like to have the whole world laugh and to not be able to laugh with it. I know you all came here to see Iggy Catalpa because you think he's funny, because you like his style, because you just plain like him, right? Yeah! But you just think you do, because you were manipulated into thinking you do. By him! King Chicken! He did it the same way they manipulate us into buying toothpaste, car wax, even politicians. All prepackaged, the least offensive, most appealing alternative. But it's precisely when humor is offensive that we need it most. Comedy should provoke. It should blast through prejudices, challenge preconceptions. Comedy should always leave you different than when it found you. The rebel seems roused. Sure, humor can hurt, even alienate. But the risk is better than the alternative. A steady diet of innocuous, childproof, flavorless mush. Demand to be challenged, to be offended, to be treated like thinking, reasoning adults. And raise your children to be the same. Don't let a comedian, a network, a congressional committee, or an evil genius take away your freedom to laugh at whatever you want.
Since then, Simpsons showrunner Al Jean has silently removed Apu from the show, and according to an article from The Wrap from the Simpsons creator himself, Matt Groening, says he looks forward to bringing Apu back one day, saying, quote, "Who could be against diversity? So, it's great. However, I will just say that the actors were not hired to play specific characters. They were hired to do whatever characters we thought of. To me, the amazing thing is seeing all of our brilliant actors who can do multiple voices. That's the part of the fun of animation. However, to be more inclusive and hire more people, I'm completely in favor of that." End quote. In other words, Gene and Groening have captured their own character and in justifying the SJW mob's actions, no thanks to Henry Condabolo's racist documentary, not to mention Hank Azaria himself recently trying to make a dumb apology for voicing the character, saying that he doesn't want to offend anyone anymore with his role. But regardless, the dude has literally bent over and got by the SJWs, who have been more emboldened to cancel other things like Dr. Seuss. And even the Muppets.
I heard that, Buster!
I guess now, Azaria has to apologize for voicing other stereotypical characters like Italians, Hispanics, blacks, Asians, hillbillies, Christians, Jews, nerds, cops, criminals, and others. What? What the fuck? Well, there goes half the list of the characters from The Simpsons, which only proves that the show's coming close to an end, if not already.
I, for one, salute our new corporate overlords. Now, family, put on the mouse ears. You only get one chance to make a first impression.
I don't wanna, I'm not gonna, you can't make me.
Put on the ears, boy. Marge.
Thank God for shows like South Park who don't give in to the SJW mob. More relatable in this crazy day and age. Middle finger to any idiot who tries to get the show cancelled.
Are you gonna let a monkey make a monkey out of you? What?
Acclaimed actor and comedian John Cleese recently took to Twitter and roasted Hazaria's so-called apology in these quotes. Stupid, uncultured, and uneducated, including the fact that I see Henry Condabolo in the same way as Aeneas Sarkeesian, with both the rhetorics being flawed and fueled by hate, with the solution being censorship. Not to mention Apu's voice actor taking to the knee to the SJW mob, which only empowers them to do more stupid crap in the near future.
Assistance, please!
Security, break it up, will ya?
But Eddie, situations such as these tend to work themselves.
Get out there! They're scaring our customers!
Mama, salvage, run! People, please, control. Jimmy, careful of his hairy back. Hold him for me. Hi, Johnny. Surrender, urban fiend!
Help! I'm being mugged! Did you see that?
Tell someone who cares.
And do something! Can I cater a party?
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Apu himself, to me, is the definition of a true American who loves his country and his friends, as seen in the Season 7 episode, Much Apu About Nothing, where the citizens of Springfield are trying to get rid of illegals to save costs, with Apu being one of them. Despite the controversy, Apu was determined to stay in his hometown and study to get his citizenship, proving he's more of an American character than any of the other characters in the show. If you guys want more information on the topic of Apu, I highly recommend you check out Braindup's video, in which he does a more better, in-depth breakdown of the situation, including his take of what is the future of comedy. Despite being a fictional character, Apu is the definition of a good role model to men, young and old, compared to Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin.
Yes, I am a citizen! Now which way to the welfare office?
What?
I'm kidding, I work.
Apu himself knows what it takes to truly be a man based on integrity, smarts, care, and having the will to keep moving forward no matter what. Not to mention a real ladies' man before his arranged marriage. If that's not what it truly takes to be a man, then we do not have a future worth defending regardless of all this crap in our day and age. Need I say more?
Thank you for coming. I'll see you in hell.
Moving on to the next male character on the SJW Feminazis hit list is the timeless and heroic Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Most of you all know by now about the situation with this male character, but for those who don't know, or even care, here's the brief 411 on Luke. Recently, Mark Hamill's iconic character has been the ongoing subject of being removed from the series because the lead of Lucasfilms, Kathleen Kennedy, otherwise known as Empress Kennedy, has a deep hatred from the character, as slightly as I mentioned earlier in the video, going back as far as A New Hope. Despite Rian Johnson being the director of the lackluster so-called Star Wars film The Last Jedi, the film states in one scene that Luke's time on screen is over.
I will never train another generation of Jedi. I came to this island to die. It's time for the Jedi to end.
Which is code from Kennedy from behind the scenes saying that George Lucas's legacy needs to vanish without a trace. But to then be replaced with someone like Rey, who's nothing more than a Mary Sue character to go along with Kennedy's sexist, ignorant, forces female movement, and using a defecting stormtrooper like Finn as a racist example of continuing to use people of color to boost promotion from media, which actor John Boyega just recently called out on, and finally Man Baby trying to be Darth Vader wannabe Kylo Ren, which the only thing remotely interesting about him, despite him killing off Han Solo, is the skit the actor did for SNL as a parody of Undercover Boss.
That's pretty much it.
Even those in the cult of Kennedy go as far as after those who are either fans of the franchise or critical of the recent films by attacking and bullying them on social media with such hatred and prejudice, repeating the same shit of saying we have to keep our mouths shut and accept the series for what it is becoming, just like Netflix's She-Ra and Mortal Kombat 11.
you post as Magnolia fan?
Yeah.
Did you write Jay and Silent Bob?
Yeah, a while ago. So?
How many people wanna kick some ass?
Did you say Jay and Silent Bob are clown shoes? And if they were real, I'd kick at him for being so stupid? Yeah. Really?
Right. Right.
I think I'll kick some ass. How many people wanna kick some ass?
For you females watching this video, if you're looking for female characters in Star Wars to look up to and be empowered by without feeling insulted in any way, then look at these characters: Ahsoka Tano, Hera Syndulla, Cara Dune, and Sabine Waren. They are the true definitions of what strong feminine type characters should be, unlike Rey and Rostika. Before I continue on with the rest of this topic, here's a fun fact for you all that may or may not know of about Mark Hamill. Besides being the face of Luke Skywalker for Star Wars, Hamill is best known in the voice acting community as the infamous Joker from Batman the Animated Series and the Arkham games, including the voice of the Hobgoblin from 90s Spider-Man, Mushka from Castle in the Sky, Vlad the Vampire from Mina and the Count, Pyro from Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, along with the shapeshifter slash fake author from Gravity Falls, Master Aquarius from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and finally Skips from Regular Show. Yet, that's only just a small list of the roles that Hamill's done in the last 20 years, with others I have yet to name. But getting back on topic, back in 2020, Hamill was secretly involved in the project with Iron Man's Jon Favreau and alongside Star Wars creator himself, George Lucas, for the recent season of The Mandalorian.
Well then, Mr. Caulfielder, I'm sure you want to make your customer satisfied, don't you?
Yeah, it's all I live for. That, my minimum wage, and the hope that global warming kills all the rich people first.
I'll take that as a yes.
Where the production team, under the radar of the Empire of Kennedy, was able to bring back Mark's iconic character into the small screen in the most amazing way possible.
X-Wing!
An X-Wing?
What?
One X-Wing? Great.
One X-Wing? Is it Luke?
Luke flies an X-Wing.
Please be Luke Skywalker.
Is this Luke Skywalker?
Luke had that ship.
Is that R2-D2 in the back?
No way. Was that Red 5? It can't be.
No way. It can be, right?
It can't be Luke, can it?
I think it's actually f***ing happening.
Shannon?
Matthew?
Shannon?
Adam?
Oh.
Adam?
Oh. Did we call this?
Is it Luke?
Is it him?
That could not be Luke.
Don't give me hope, bro.
Well, does he know something?
He's recognizing somebody with the Force is coming!
It's a Jedi! It's a Jedi!
Could it be Luke? No, there ain't no way it could be Luke, is it? I don't know what the timeline of this is.
Dude, my heart is pounding.
Dude, my heart! Heart!
I don't know what to do with my hands. Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
Who is that?
Who is this?
Oh my god, it's Luke.
Oh, it's gotta be Luke. Oh my god, dude, if it's Luke, I'm gonna cry, dude.
Do not tease me like this!
Is that Luke?
It is, isn't it? It is. It's Luke.
Oh my god, it is.
Oh my god, it is!
It's Luke Skywalker.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
What?
I have chills.
I have goosebumps!
Yes! A green lightsaber!
It's a green saber.
Oh my goodness.
It's Luke!
It's fucking Luke!
Holy sh!
Oh my god.
I can't believe they're doing this. That is epic.
The gloved hand, the green saber.
Oh my god.
I don't know why I'm crying.
It's happening. It's happening.
They actually did it.
I need to like calm down. I can't freaking breathe.
This is exactly what I wanted to see.
No! No!
He took the hits.
Thank heavens.
You piece of
Don't you dare kill yourself. Yeah, you fucking wish, mate.
Oh, Grogu, you know who it is.
most powerful f***ing Jedi in the galaxy.
That's who we force timed.
Oh, that was so good.
This is incredible.
He is making them look like regular stormtroopers
Yeah,
right now, and I
literally.
am here for it.
Dude, I'm gonna cry.
Oh my god, I'm crying so much.
Oh my god, dude, this is like the Rogue One Vader scene.
Oh my god, he's gonna have his Vader moment.
Yes! Yes! Oh.
He came in ready, bro.
Straight through.
We never really got to see him like this. Oh my god.
Done.
Ooh, Papa like.
Oh my god!
Holy!
It's a force choke, isn't it?
This is too epic.
I just can't believe what I'm seeing.
I wonder how Luke's gonna look like.
Is it CG Luke? Sebastian Stan?
That has to be Sebastian Stan, right?
Oh my god, please let it be Sebastian Stan.
My god, we're gonna find out right now, aren't we?
Oh, yes!
I'm losing my mind.
I can't believe it, man.
Oh, it's Luke!
Luke!
Oh my god, it's Luke!
What?
Holy!
Holy.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Did they just like de-age Mark Hamill?
They just CG'd him.
That's CGI Mark Hamill?
Oh my god!
Oh my god, the music! The music!
Fucking music as well. F you, Luke's theme, dude. Oh my god, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, they nailed him.
That CG is really good. It looks amazing.
Perfect.
Are you a Jedi?
I am.
Nigga, I'm the Jedi.
He's the fucking Jedi.
That's fucking Luke Skywalker!
And redemption for his character after how Luke was treated in Rian Johnson's Last Jedi.
It's not my story anymore. It's somebody else's story, and Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. That's the whole crux of my problem. Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars, so I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker, but I had to do what Ryan wanted me to do because it serves the story well. But listen, I still haven't accepted it completely, but it's only a movie.
In conclusion, if this moment in The Mandalorian does not prove from actual fans and viewers' reactions of how important Luke Skywalker is to the series and legacy of Star Wars, then there's no hope for any other franchises out there from the that is identity politics. Not to mention that the toys from the Disney trilogy aren't selling enough compared to the OG classics. Whether that would be Star Wars, Mortal Kombat, or even She-Ra, if the SJW feminazis continue attacking and dictating over the majority, then we're seriously f***ed in both culture and society. Need I say more?
May the Force be with you.
Oh, dude.
Luke Skywalker holding Grogu, Baby Yoda. Oh, this is so good.
This is special.
This sucks. Oh, me.
This is so heartbreaking!
Yo, I'm in tears here!
This might be the most emotional moment in Star Wars ever.
Oh my god, this show.
I love this show.
What happens now?
Oh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
We love you, Baby Yoda, and we'll always remember you.
Till next time, friend.
See you around, kid.
Oh, dude.
I feel you, Mando.
That's it? We're not gonna see him again now?
Moving on to the last male character on the hit list to the SJW feminazis is Marvel's The Incredible Hulk. Now this one is similar to the situation with Luke Skywalker, which is pretty much public knowledge at this point regarding Hulk's final appearance in Avengers Endgame. For those who are either unaware, clueless, or don't even care what's happening, here's a brief description of the matter. Most of those who watched Endgame back in 2019, including myself, saw Hulk as less of an important character compared to Infinity War or Thor Ragnarok. This was all due to the fact that the studio heads decided to play into the SJW mob's hands of intentionally reducing Hulk's original character traits of not being angry into, I believe, a shell of his former awesome badass self that once took on what looked like the devil in Ragnarok.
I'll stop you, moron!
The Incredible Hulk always referred to himself saying, quote, "Hulk's the strongest there is."
You're just a frightened child. You're a fractured piece of Bruce's psyche. A little boy crying out to be loved. And you're afraid of me, as you should be, because I'm going to erase you from his mind. Hulk is not afraid. Hulk is the strongest one there is. The beast is strong, but not strong enough. Hulk is strongest there is!
Because his anger is what gives him strength to take on his enemies and defend those he cares about, like Betty Ross. Villains like the Leader, Abomination, or Generos's Hulkbusters. Fun fact, Mark Hamill was the voice of Gargoyle on the 90s Hulk cartoon, so it's one more to add on his list of iconic roles he's done over the years.
Excellent idea for a pitiful halfwit. But there's a new chain of command now, Stearns. I postulate the brilliant plans. Here, you clean up the lab. So says the Gargoyle. That sounds as stupid coming from me as it did from the Leader.
What gets him angry is Banner getting beaten up, seeing innocents in harm's way, or just getting pissed that the General wants to use his gamma-filled blood as a weapon to recreate the serum to make more super soldiers like Captain America.
Emphasize that what I'm about to share with you is tremendously sensitive both to me personally and the Army. You're aware that we've got an infantry weapons development program. Well, in WW2, they initiated a sub-program for biotech force enhancement.
Yeah, super soldier.
Yes. An oversimplification, but yes. And I dusted it off. Got them doing serious work again, bold work. Across the hall, they're trying to arm you better. We were trying to make you better. Banner's work was very early phase. It wasn't even weapons application. He thought he was working on radiation resistance. I would never have told him what the project really was. But he was so sure of what he was onto that he tested it on himself. And something went very wrong. Or it went very right. As far as I'm concerned, that man's whole body is property of the U.S. Army.
To take away Hulk's trait of being angry is no different than removing Wolverine's adamantium claws or Doctor Strange's powers. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yet in the eyes of these SJWs out there, it's about retconning these characters along with other IPs to play into this sexist agenda to go after men with this toxic masculinity, saying men can't be or look like men anymore because it involves rape culture, or it belittles those who don't have muscles, which, to put it bluntly, is total. From the information I uncovered regarding the manner of Hulk being reduced of his former self is mixed, but most viewers and fans have pointed out the flaws in how Hulk was presented in Endgame and Thor Ragnarok. I'll say from my point of view, this whole Professor Hulk idea may have worked on paper or from a comic book perspective, but when executed on screen, it was just used to prevent Hulk from being his badass self. Even to the point of the movie where Hulk sees his past self from the first Avengers, he's disgusted at what he sees, which only proves the point I'm making. Sure, he was the only one to use the Infinity Gauntlet and was able to fight in the final battle against Thanos and his forces, but he should not have felt like a side character rather than one that deserved more love and respect, which the studio did not give him completely. Which to me and others feels like a major cop-out in favor of playing into identity politics. I don't give a f how many cuts of Endgame there are if it had Captain Marvel leading the team. All I care about is seeing the characters I grew up with being treated with the same love, respect, and dignity that Stan Lee and others gave them years ago. Sadly, it would appear that Endgame was truly the end of the franchise we enjoyed and admired over the years. Now they'll be the subject of more identity politics with Phase 4 to continue this woke into our culture. I seriously have no interest in watching WandaVision, Falcon the Winter Soldier, Loki, or even Black Widow or anything else attached to the Phase 4 lineup because I will no longer support a company like Disney or Marvel that continues to attack and bully its fans, customers, and employees with this woke, sexist, racist garbage, no different than Warner Brothers pulling the same. Need I say more?
What more do you want? For now! I tried to play ball with these ass clowns.
F you, Mr. Stark. F you, buddy. We're adjourned. We're adjourned for the day. Okay. You've been a delight.
In conclusion of this video as a whole, I have pointed out the character and identity of Lola Bunny from her 90s version along with other victims beside her involved in various examples of identity politics and sexual bias. Even pointing out those and calling out on their of justifying what they did intentionally, which is to continue the war on culture, sex, society, even history, entertainment-wise. The question is now, what happens next? Will Rouge the Bat have her breast size reduced so she isn't showing her curves anymore? Or will it be Barry from Conker's Bad Fur Day because she's modeled exactly after Lola Bunny herself? Will He-Man be reduced to a side character instead of the main character in Kevin Smith's reboot? Will they go after Chell from The Road to El Dorado for looking too feminine and sexy for a Latina? Will they reboot 24 to make Jack Bauer more of a What can we do to stop this insanity from continuing on and ruining people's lives and enjoyment?
Okay, that's it. Stop the insanity.
All I can tell you all is this. The simplest things we can do to combat this is calling it out both in public and online. Use art like memes and stuff for clothing or stickers to better our message getting across past the gatekeepers of our culture and society. I'm currently doing that with my new merch shop which I created to combat the sexist, ignorant, uncultured going on in our culture and society, and to send a clear enough message about how we truly feel about what's currently happening. I recently came up with the idea of making t-shirts with the shape of Lola to simply point out to the sexist SJW bitches and that Lola Bunny does matter whether they like it or not, even despite her character redesign. I even made other t-shirts in fighting against the sexist stereotype of men being called cavemen, which most ignorant don't know their own history enough to understand what cavemen were, besides the typical sexist trait of bang and done.
What? Oh, hey, Barry, how you doing? Hey.
Do you know this tea leaf?
Yeah, like I'd associate with a caveman.
Because if they did know, they would have realized that cavemen back in the day were the OG breadwinners to women and tribesfolk. Yet some are too damn clueless or stupid not to realize that and other reasons behind it due to another example of why our education system is failing young people. That is why I recently created these t-shirts like the Lola Bunny Matters and What is a Caveman to not only re-educate these uneducated there in public of their own bias, but to have men wear them proudly and not be ashamed of who they are. Even made some for women to not just take a stand for men's rights, but to show to the men in their lives how much they matter. Now, these are the true examples of being stunning and brave. Unlike how the SJW's sexist assholes defied theirs with Netflix's She-Ra with toxic relationships or Disney's Owl House with same-sex little girl relationships.
You'll still be alright. We'll convert your children.
No!
Yes, we will.
God, please, no! No!
There's really no escaping it.
No!
Cause even grandma likes RuPaul.
No!
And the world's getting kinder. Gen Z's gayer than Grindr.
No!
Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your
No!
fear.
God, please, no! No!
We'll convert your children.
No!
Someone's gotta teach them
No!
not to hate.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
We're coming
No!
for your children.
No! No! God, please, no! 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 God, please, no! 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 No!
In closing, I believe Lola Bunny's 2021 redesign is nothing more than a sexist attack against our culture, gender, society, and history in one fell swoop. Even worse, things like Space Jam 2, shows like Netflix's reboot of She-Ra, and games like Mortal Kombat 11 are all examples on the continued war on our culture by rebooting favorite IPs and characters from the 90s, 80s, and so on. Not just to capitalize on, but to rebrand them as being more woke in order to earn brownie points with the leftist, ignorant, sexist, uneducated, and uncultured there who just want to turn the very things we're a part of and enjoy into a shell of its former self so that these insecure can be pleased. Because, let's be honest here, on the fact that they'll flip the f*** out if they don't get what they want, like a selfish child throwing an adult-like temper tantrum that would make little kids cry by getting involved in things like cancel culture with Gina Carano, Dr. Seuss, and so on. It's why I believe things like mangas and animes, like I said earlier, are the last line of defense to our culture. If we lose them to these SJW gatekeepers, who are nothing more than just the mob, then it's really game over for our culture and society. Need I say more? Hey guys, it's RetroMeister again. Thank you for watching this video. If y'all enjoyed it, definitely share, like, and subscribe to my channel for more content coming up soon, and support in the battle for alternative media. You guys stay awesome, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Professor, without knowing precisely what the danger is, would you say it's time for our viewers to crack each other's heads open and feast on the goo inside?
Yes, I would, Ken.